You know that feeling when you're speaking English and you just hit a tiny roadblock?
Mm-hmm.
That moment where you pause thinking, should I say this? Or maybe tell someone? Or should I just speak?
Yeah, it happens. They seem so close, don't they?
Exactly. It's fascinating how English gives us these words so similar on the surface, but, well, they hide these really crucial differences.
It's like having, three tools. All good tools.
Right. But each one's for a slightly different job, and picking the wrong one makes things feel just a little bit.
A little bit off, yeah. Awkward sometimes.
So today on the deep dive, we're grabbing our linguistic magnifying glass, really getting into these three super common verbs: say, tell, and speak.
The big three of communication verbs, you could say.
Pretty much.
Mm.
And while they all, relate to communicating, this deep dive, and we're pulling this from some great insights in what's the difference between say, tell, and speak,
Mm-hmm.
is all about unpacking their unique uses.
Those little nuances, the grammar patterns.
Yes, all of that. The mission is clear. We want to help you get that pretension, that confidence in your English. So let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Now, it's easy to just think, oh, these are just grammar rules, dry stuff.
Yeah, things to memorize for a test, maybe.
But it's not just about being correct, is it? It's about actually being understood, properly understood.
With the heat.
Because choosing the right word, well, it shapes how people see things, it shows your intent, and it makes everything flow naturally, not, clunky.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting, I think, is that understanding why these differences exist, it goes beyond just the rules.
How so?
Well, these distinctions, even tiny ones like with say, tell, speak, they're kind of fundamental to how we interact every day, how we give and get information, read social cues.
Oh, okay. So it's deeper than just grammar.
Much deeper. This deep dive should help connect those dots, get you thinking a bit more critically about the words you choose.
Okay, let's do it. Let's kick things off with say. When we talk about say, what's its core job? What's it focusing on?
Say really zeroes in on the words, the content, the message itself, or sometimes just the simple act of, well, uttering something.
Okay.
Think of it like putting the spotlight on what was said, not necessarily who it was said to, like he said hello or she said nothing.
Or you might ask, what did you say to him? Still focused on the what.
Exactly. The spoken content is front and center.
And grammatically, how does it usually show up in a sentence? What patterns should we look out for?
Well, the main pattern is often say something to someone, but here's the crucial bit. Say very rarely takes a direct object that is the person you're speaking to.
A direct object being the thing receiving the action. Right.
So the classic mistake is saying something like, he said me. That just doesn't work in English.
Okay, so no. He said me. Got it.
If you do want to include the listener with say, you almost always need that little word to, so it becomes he said to me.
Right. The to connects it.
Then there's say that plus clause. A clause being a bit with a subject and verb.
Like reporting speech.
Precisely. It's mainly for reporting what someone else said. She said that she was tired, or he said that he would be late. Standard reported speech.
And direct quotes, too, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. It's the go-to for quotation marks. He said, I'll be there at 5. Or, it's beautiful, she said. Very common.
It also pops up in loads of fixed phrases, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
Say yes, say no, say sorry.
Say a prayer, say goodbye, say hello. Yeah.
Why is it always say in those cases?
Because the focus there is purely on the utterance itself. The act of saying the word yes, or the act of apologizing with sorry, it's not really about informing a specific person in that moment.
Ah, okay. It reinforces that focus on the words, the verbal act.
Exactly. It's consistent with its core function.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so if say is about the words, what happens when we want to shift the focus? When we really want to highlight the transfer of information to a specific person?
Uh-huh. Well, that sounds like a job for tell, doesn't it?
It does. That's where tell comes in, right?
Absolutely. With tell, the recipient, the listener, becomes really important. It's all about the act of giving information to someone, or maybe instructing someone.
So the listener is baked into the meaning of tell.
Strongly implied, yes. That's the crucial difference from say. Tell usually needs a listener specified or clearly understood.
And how does that change the grammar, the sentence structure?
Well, this leads to its most common, most distinguishing pattern. Tell someone something. Notice the order.
Okay.
The direct object is the person. The person receiving the info comes right after tell. Then you add the information itself.
Can you give an example?
Sure. He told me a secret, see? Me is the direct object, or can you tell me the time? Or she told him the truth.
Right. The person comes first after the verb.
Exactly. And you generally can't just tell something without saying who you told, unless maybe the context makes it super obvious, like if you tell a story, we assume you're telling it to an audience.
Okay. Makes sense.
Another key pattern is tell someone to do something. That's specifically for instructions or commands.
Like orders.
Yeah. She told me to wait. Or he told them to leave.
And what about tell that plus clause? Does that like say that?
It's similar, but again, there's a critical difference. When you use tell that, it inherently implies a direct recipient was informed.
Ah, okay.
So he told me that he was leaving. The focus is on me being informed. Or she told us that the meeting was canceled. We were the ones told. It's not just reporting the fact, it's reporting the act of informing someone.
So the absolute core difference here is that tell needs a who. It needs that recipient.
Pretty much, yes. If you're giving information to a specific person, tell is almost always the verb you need.
Yeah, because saying I said him the news just sounds wrong.
It sounds really clunky, doesn't it? Incomplete. But I told him the news. That flows. It clearly shows that transfer of information to him.
That's a really clear distinction. And like, say tell has its own set phrases too, right?
It does indeed. We tell a story, tell a lie, tell the truth.
Tell the difference. Tell a joke.
Tell the time. Even tell someone's fortune. All these involve imparting some kind of information or narrative to someone.
Okay, great. We've got say, focusing on the words uttered. We've got tell, focusing on giving information to a recipient. Now, where does speak fit into this picture? How is it different from the other two?
Right. Speak. Speak tends to be a bit broader, often more formal too. It generally focuses on the act of using your voice to communicate.
The act itself.
Yeah, or the general ability to use a language. It often emphasizes the production of words orally, maybe more than the specific content being delivered to a specific person.
So it's more about the general action or capability, perhaps.
That's a good way to put it. Capability is key for one of its uses.
Okay, so what are some common patterns for speak?
Well, you often hear speak about something, like he spoke about his travels, or they spoke about the weather. The focus is the topic of conversation.
Not necessarily giving specific facts to someone, just discussing a topic.
Exactly. Then there's speak to with someone. This indicates a conversation or interaction.
Is there a difference between speak to and speak with?
There can be a subtle one. Speak to can sometimes feel a bit more one way, like giving instructions or a lecture. Can I speak to you for a moment? Might signal a serious or directive conversation.
Right.
Whereas speak with often implies a more two-way collaborative discussion. I need to speak with my manager, suggests a mutual exchange. It's subtle, though.
Interesting nuance.
And here's a really crucial one. Speak is always the verb for the ability to use a language.
Always.
Always. You speak French. She speaks 3 languages fluently. You would absolutely never say, I say French, or I tell French when talking about ability.
Right, that sounds completely wrong.
It is. So ability speak. That's a hard rule.
And you mentioned formality. Speak often sounds more formal.
It definitely can, yes. Think about official situations. The president will speak tonight. Or she spoke eloquently at the conference.
See, these aren't just casual chats.
Not at all. There are often public addresses, presentations, formal discussions. So speak can carry a bit more weight, suggest a more structured communication event than, say, the everyday uses of say or tell.
Okay, this is great. We've looked at them individually. Say for words, tell for informing someone, speak for the act or ability, often more formal. Let's pull it all together now.
Good idea.
What are the absolute must-know takeaways, those aha moments, and maybe the most common mistakes people make, even, advanced learners?
Okay, the biggest one. The one people get tripped up on most often. Say versus tell when there's a person involved.
Right.
Remember the rule. If you specify who received the information, you almost always need tell. He told me a story.
No, he said me a story.
Never, he said me a story. But if you're focusing on what was said and you mention the person, use say to. He said hello to me.
Never, he said me hello.
Definitely not. That say me error is probably the #1 mistake we hear. It's so common.
I hear it all the time. That's such a key point.
Yeah.
What else?
Second vital point, ability to use a language. It's always speak. Always.
She speaks English fluently.
Perfect. You just can't substitute says English or tells English there. It doesn't work.
Got it. Ability, speak.
And third, just remember that general lean towards formality with speak It often signals a broader act of communication, while say is tighter on the words, and tell is focused on that direct information transfer to someone.
So paying attention to these things isn't just about, like, ticking a grammar box.
Not at all.
It's about making your English sound right, natural, precise, actually getting your meaning across effectively.
Exactly. Choosing the right tool for the job, like you said earlier, making your communication genuinely impactful.
Wow, what an eye-opening deep dive. It's amazing how 3 verbs, say, tell, speak, that seem so simple at first glance can hold such, well, distinct power.
They really do.
Understanding these subtle differences, these nuances, it really can lift your communication, can it? From just saying words to actually, imparting meaning with real precision and confidence.
And it leaves you with something interesting to think about, doesn't it? As you go about your day, maybe mull this over.
Okay.
Consider how knowing these nuances doesn't just fix your grammar, but maybe deepens how you appreciate language itself, the precision it allows for. So the next time someone's talking to you, listen closely. Are they just saying something, just uttering words? Are they actively telling you something, giving you information directly? Or are they speaking, maybe more formally, or engaging in a broader conversation?
What does their choice of verb hint at?
Exactly. How might that subtle choice hint at their intention or the formality of it all? And how does that shape your understanding of what's happening? It's just something to notice in the world around you.
That is a fantastic challenge, a great takeaway. So for everyone listening,
Yeah.
the next time you're in conversation or reading something or even writing an email, try to notice. Actively listen for say, tell, and speak.
Apply the distinctions.
Yeah, apply them. See the difference it makes when you choose just the right verb for your exact meaning. You're definitely one step closer to mastering this particular linguistic superpower.